Hello, everyone. It is honestly probably the busiest time of the year for me in terms of having to crank out content because I put out a reaction video to the entire season of Drive to Survive and I like to get it all out before the first race. So I'm expecting to have a couple videos a day out for the next little bit here. But yeah, really excited to watch this new season. I've heard really good things about it. I feel like a big reason is probably that COVID restrictions were finally lifted, and so they were able to get a lot more behind the scenes access this year. At least that's what I've heard. So I'm excited to see what they managed to pick up. And then, of course, 2024 was a fantastic season. So, yeah, let's get right into the first episode. Episode is Business as Usual. Ahead of the new season, the drama has already begun. Lewis Hamilton makes a drastic decision, which is almost overshadowed by a shocking allegation, which I'm assuming is the Christian Horner allegation, which I am actually very surprised that they're covering this because you would think that that would kind of open them up to legal issues. So yeah, we'll see what they say about all that.
Morning.
Speak of the devil.
The most points in a year, the biggest winning margin ever.
I find it very interesting looking at her body language there. Like she is like huddled up into the corner of that car.
How would you sum up 2023?
Red Bull.
Red Bull.
It's domination like Formula One has
Thank God that's over.
There can only be one winner at the end of the day.
God, I hate him. He's so smug. Oh, look at the kitty cat. So cute.
Finito.
Oh, I'm so curious to see some Flavio here.
Nothing to see here.
I mean, we used to sit next to each other in the tub.
Ah, yeah.
Maybe tickling the bum hole a little bit.
I miss them.
Grab your popcorn.
I wonder if this is going to be the last of Will Buxton on this since he moved to IndyCar. Although he's probably going to be back after the IndyCar season's done. Oh man, I miss this show. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think if you go into it not expecting it to be a perfectly accurate depiction of what happened, it's good. And then all the behind the scenes content, like you can't get that anywhere else. So I think that's the reason why it's worth watching, even if you hate the fabricated drama that it can sometimes have.
Let's do this. I can't actually remember all of the stories over the winter because there was just one that overtook them all. One of the biggest stories possibly in Formula One history.
Yeah.
Lewis decides he's leaving Mercedes and goes to Ferrari. This is seismic.
Oh man, where were you when?
It's been a busy winter and big news announced.
I kind of wish they had played that up a little bit more. Like the fact that it came out of nowhere, like I really wanted like the drama from that the Seb one gave with like Checo. But maybe since it happened off season, like they wouldn't have had any kind of reaction to it like that. But oh shit, I don't have my mic anywhere near me. Sorry. Hopefully y'all caught all of that. My bad.
You're using that already, I'm sure, for tears. Like he was crying. No, it's really good with the silver and the
It looks
green.
like two cars split in half and put together. It's just the truth. I can't help it. Like, I have this.
I love Lewis is like fuck PR.
Is the final
Oh. Or Carlos.
The seven-time world champion, Lewis Hamilton, will be replacing Carlos Sainz, who's also released a statement confirming he will be parting ways with Ferrari at the end of this season.
I do feel bad for Carlos in all of this. But it's like, what can you do?
I want to give this to you. A chili for post-teammate era.
Boy, come on, you're only starting the season.
I do think they get along really well off track, but I think on track, I've always gotten the sense that they have different ways that they like to set up the car, and I think that's kind of given some struggles there. And I do remember like Carlos had a really hot start last year, and like everyone was like, "Oh, did they replace the wrong driver?" Like, no.
This is going to be the launch image for the championships. You know how we did the grid shoot before?
Yeah.
Basically, this is replacing that.
I don't like. Yeah.
Wow. What's with the colors? It's a weird photo, no?
Yeah, I don't get it either. I like the old shot they would do on the with all the cars lined up. It just felt more F1. Daniel, oh, that's gonna hurt.
Oh, dude. It's so... Some people say I look like an Australian construction worker. Missing the battery. The golden mullet.
The Bottas 2.0.
The one thing I'm kind of bummed about is like with Valtteri at Sauber, and like Sauber has been a nothing burger of a team for so long that like Valtteri doesn't get much coverage because he had so many memes from when he was back at Mercedes and
This move to
yeah.
Ferrari is a cool move, I think. I think it's pretty sick, to be honest.
Good for Lewis. Good for his bank account too. Who goes to replace Lewis? That's a tough one. Still been waiting for the call from Toto, but phone hasn't rang.
Oh, it will eventually, Valtteri.
Hey, you're boarding a little bit here.
So rude, George.
Silly season will be the next level.
Certainly was. Oh.
For Carlos, this might be his one and only time to prove that he deserves a place in Formula One.
One and only time. That's a bit dramatic, Willie.
You could win that F4 title with Mercedes.
Regardless whether or not this is a championship winning car, won't
He's
have any bearing.
so quickly become my favorite team principal. He's just so funny.
Which makes me feel like I'm really an interesting wonderful vehicle.
Interesting.
You don't think Merck will win again? You think they're declining?
Interesting.
Aussi parce que pour nous c'était important
Tack that
saison,
season with that
et que ça
behind
arrive.
us. Okay. So Fred probably released the rumor that Lewis was signing there. Like, because I think, yeah, on Mercedes' side, they would have wanted to keep that under wraps. But they got kind of blindsided with the whole thing. Okay.
Have just launched an investigation after allegations of inappropriate
I think they're keeping it above board on what is out in the news.
Right.
Interesting.
Did you give any thought to maybe stepping aside from those duties temporarily while all this is sorted out?
Like, I am glad that they're talking about it. And I understand why he can't say anything.
Been made against me.
So you're innocent.
But,
Yeah, as I say.
I don't know. I just hate.
Good. Because this is normal.
I hate it. I think the thing that says the most over this past year, though, is just how many people have left Red Bull. Like, that is the biggest teller for me.
Red Bull Corporation, it appears, has launched an investigation and
An internal investigation that they didn't release the results of.
I wouldn't want to be Christian.
I wouldn't want to be the woman that Christian was involved with.
He's a prick.
No, you're a prick.
Yeah, I know.
If you look at Christian Horner, though, at testing this year, it looks like he's aged like 10 years in a single year. Like, he looks rough.
Continuing with his job.
It'll all come out in the courts. Eventually. Because she's still fighting it, so.
They're all fucking sleeping together. Is that the first complaint of the new season?
I love Sassy Charles. Sassy Charles is my favorite Charles.
But so initial thing is not so bad.
Yes, nice and clear. No.
Interesting. But I do think that like Mercedes is really good around Bahrain, which is why I don't trust the order that came out of testing this year, because it seems to be a track that hides their issues if they do have any. Oh. Okay, this is the energy that I wanted from the Lewis Hamilton one.
The second practice.
The Google Drive.
My phone starts getting messages and this, that, and the other.
An anonymous email has been sent to every team principal.
Is it an email? To the two of you?
And to pretty much every member of the Formula One press. That contains a cache of WhatsApp messages and photographs.
I'm still so surprised he's kept his job. And Red Bull have basically destroyed their entire reputation and their entire future to protect him.
It was obvious that the end goal was for me to leave Red Bull.
But who's leaked them?
That's the multi-million-dollar question.
Yeah, because there was questions about whether it was like, was it Joss, was it Helmet, or was it the women's team? Oh, this just makes me gag. Like, ugh. Like, you feel for Jerry, but you're also like, girl, why are you doing this? But clearly, I think a lot of that says a bit about what is going on in their marriage, is my view of it. I won't say much more than that. And I think the fact that this is all in this episode kind of shows that the teams actually don't have that much control over the content that it goes into. Like, I'm sure they can say yes or no to certain clips, but I think the overall storyline, like, they don't control it.
I do marketing.
How will Carlos Sainz fare? Essentially, every race from now on is a job interview.
I don't like that they're framing Carlos as being like a driver on the ropes with no opportunities when, like, clearly he was the one that everyone was going after, which is why it delayed things so long for silly season. The fact that Charles finished this race was actually a miracle, though. Like, the fact that his, like, brake temps were off like crazy was wild. It's funny, when you first watch Drive to Survive, I think the racing parts are almost the more exciting bits. But now, once you're actually into the sport, it's the boring part. I guess you're like, oh, I know what happens. And they also, like, obviously are fudging things with the radios and stuff. Did Red Bull get a 1-2 in this race? I can't remember. They must have. Ugh. Ugh, just like her. Yeah. It just makes me really sad for Jerry, mainly because she's known for being a fucking Spice Girl. And so the fact that she's sticking with her man is just, like, so anti-feminist and, ugh, just bugs me. But, like, he's rich, so you can kind of understand it from that end, too. And the kids and all that stuff, but, man, it just makes me sad.
Jos Verstappen told the Daily Mail that tension remains at Red Bull. The team is at risk of being torn apart if the team principal remains in charge.
Jos Verstappen has made it abundantly clear that he wants Christian Horner gone.
Which is, like, wild because the best or what is it? What's the quote? The worst person in the world made a good point. Melbourne. Oh, yes, I love this. I feel like this race was like the first moment where we're like, okay, we're actually going to get a good season. I think. It's really funny to me that the Ferrari team principals are always speaking in non-English. Because, like, Binotto always used to speak in Italian, and then Fred's always in French.
Other than Max, Carlos is the informed.
So they're briefly mentioning that. Interesting. I think they'll cover that in the Carlos episode, though.
Fit enough to race. It's only been 16 days since Carlos had
here we go.
Surgery.
Breaking news.
Carlos Sainz has been diagnosed with an appendicitis.
No, he looks so high there. Oh.
In the first
Oh,
week,
wow.
I couldn't pretty much walk or get out of bed.
It's
by
crazy, like,
myself.
how sophisticated surgeries like that have gotten. Like, you just need a little tiny cut, and they can get right in there and fix it out.
I'm still cannot sneeze, cannot cough because of the abdominal pain.
But this is the thing that, like, I do think that if you're in a little bit of pain, you're actually able to race better. Because, like, we saw this with Lance Stroll as well when he broke his wrist. Like, you're so focused on how much you're in pain, you're really driving by instinct. And so you're not second guessing anything racing wise. And I think when you're in that kind of, like, driving just by instinct space, then you're able to drive the best. Because I think it's when you're in your own head and you're trying to control things, that's when mistakes happen. So, yeah, just the fact that Carlos won this, though, is pretty crazy.
look at this. Carlos Sainz. He's almost wheel to wheel.
We were so excited when we got a bathroom lead. And there it is. Oh wow, it fully just like went off.
P1,
1-2 for Ferrari.
The only thing that came out of my mind was like, tienes los huevos más grandes que he visto nunca. Basically translates like, you've got the biggest balls that I've seen in my life.
Later appealed. Appeals carried out by the independent senior lieutenant did not uphold it. What does that mean? So that was the first episode. I think they did a pretty good job of covering it. I think it was all stuff that we already knew, which I think was probably maybe what Red Bull allowed in a sense. Like if they had any behind the scenes extra coverage of it, I don't think they would have let that out. Like we got like a few more insight into how Horner was feeling about it, but glad they covered it. It is a bit of a a bit of a bummer to have to watch. But yeah, I think it's important to, I think, the story of Red Bull last season, because I do think that it probably played a huge factor in the fact that they fell off. Yeah, and they didn't really get into who released it, and then the stuff between Joss and Helmut and him. Like, they didn't really go into that kind of drama, so yeah. I think they did a decent job with it. Could have been more, but you know, it's like that. And then the Hamilton news wasn't as big as I would have maybe wanted it, but I guess since it was news from the off season, they didn't really have much in terms of people talking about it that much. So maybe that'll come up in one of the future episodes. But yeah, overall, a pretty good episode. Better than most first episodes, I would say, because most Drive to Survive first episodes of the season are to like set up all the storylines, so they're really not focusing on one team, but the fact that this one kind of did was kind of nice. But yeah, okay, I will end this video here and move on to the next one. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this content. I will be releasing the next 9 episodes in the next few days here. Doodles.